The movie begins with a scientist conducting synthetic experiments in his laboratory. We see a large rat in a cage. It is a strange rat that looks like a human. We see the scientist and his wife, Linda. The scientist talks to his wife about his work here. We learn that Linda is a doctor who is not happy with her husband who often ignores her. Meanwhile, Linda gets a call from the hospital, so she has to leave. After she leaves, her husband goes to the lab because it is close to his house. The rat was not in the cage when he got there. To his surprise, when he observed this and took out the gun, the rat appeared out of nowhere with a human-sized size. The scientist tried to calm her down, after putting down his gun due to the ferocity of the rat's appearance, and he was brutally killed by the rat. Alan was a husband who was a geologist who had a deteriorating marriage. So the wife divorced Alan and moved out of the house. Then when the scientist died, Alan arrived at Linda's residence with his assistant Julie. The police called them to assist them in the investigation. A female sergeant stated that she did not believe that this scientist was killed by humans, according to the senior officer. Meanwhile, Linda reports that she was at the hospital all night. Linda sneezes when she speaks, and as a result, the officers become suspicious of her. The officers suspect that Linda is hiding something from them. The senior officer tells Linda that Alan wants to take a sample of her clothes. Linda agrees to give the sample after giving a card to Lisa. The senior officer says, "Please call me if you have any other information." After his departure, Alan told the senior officer that he felt Linda was horrified over her husband's death. He was sure she was not hiding anything from them. According to the senior officer, he has found many files scattered beside the scientists and corpses at the crime scene, which might make people assume that the files were spread by Linda to find something, and she must be hiding something from them. In the following scene, a girl is seen carrying garbage to the dumpster. Meanwhile, she notices a strange noise coming from behind her. When she looks back, she sees a very big rat. The girl tries hard to run away, but she faints when she runs. The rat attacks her and brutally kills her. Linda had Alan late at night to tell him that she knew something about the case and wanted to share it with him. That's why she called Alan, and Linda drove him to the lab. Once he arrived, she told him that she found some chemicals when she came over that night. She went on to say that her husband never came over that night. She went on to say that her husband never allowed her to be present in his lab. Alan believed that instead of her, he should have told the police everything. Then Alan started examining these substances on site. He found harmonics, formation of radioactive substances. Linda claims that her husband used to research rats and rabbits in this lab. Alan then takes pictures of his surroundings, and Linda invites him into her house. Alan observes a picture of Linda's mother as they begin to drink. Alan starts asking Linda about her. Linda's mother died a long time ago. She was a cancer survivor. By all means, I am ready to accompany you. In this case, Linda tells him. He starts asking Alan about his wife. Alan claims that now they have divorced and they are living separately from each other. When Alan gets to the police station the next day, the senior officer and sergeant told him about the girl. A big rat killed the girl last night. According to the police, the girl was like a murdered scientist. Alan told them that he went to Linda's residence the night before. He found there that her husband was experimenting on mice in his laboratory. It is conceivable that the failure was due to a problem with the experiment. The rat might have turned into a horrible rat that killed the scientists and the girls were alive. The senior officer attacked Alan and asked him why he went to Linda's house without telling anyone, since he was one of the suspects. To that he is almost certainly behind it all. Alan proposes that they put the city under lockdown, as a result of which they should be able to catch the big beast. When the police heard this, he added they could not shut down the town. They knew nothing about the species and had no solid evidence. Making the townspeople would be scared. There is chaos around. The giant rat roaming the streets will scare people. Alan then came to Linda's house again with his assistant Julie. She tried to warn her about the big rat. When entering the house, she could not find Linda in her house. Meanwhile, he dialed Linda's phone and found out that she was not at home. He went somewhere else. After leaving the house, Alan heard a noise from the room upstairs. While Linda was on the phone, she told him that there was something in his house. Alan went inside the room, and after taking his gun, the rat approached and dropped it. Alan escaped from the room after hurting himself with the creature's long nails while massaging his back. He soon came out with Julie. The two showed up at the hospital later, and the police started looking for Alan and how he got so badly injured. Alan claimed that a huge rat attacked him there. The rat was the size of a bear, and he assumed that the rat considered his residence as its own. Now they have to investigate how he was created and how he got so big. How he got dropped. The senior officer told them that they have 24 hours to catch him and bring him to justice. Then the senior officer called Alan and asked him to devote all his time and attention to this case. He tells him not to worry about anything else. Linda then comes to the hospital to see him and inquire about his condition. Linda warns him that if he goes inside the house, the rats will attack and kill him. After hearing this, Alan takes her to his house. On the other hand, We see a girl going to a mechanic to get her car fixed because she was alone in the garage. She had to go fix her car. The rats got in while the mechanic was working on the car. The rats killed the mechanic after attacking him. The girl didn't know what was happening outside because she was in her cabin. Her leg got pinched when she went back to her car. She then observed the rats devouring the corpse outside. She then observed the rat devouring the lifeless body of the mechanic. The girl was scared by what she saw and started running. The rat chased her and cornered her and devoured her legs. During this period, this woman hit it with a hammer. The rat started eating her hands and finally finished eating the girl while Alan was at home. The next day he was called to the senior officer's office informing Alan that the rat ate a mechanic and a woman the night before. Alan claimed that he had previously considered shutting down the town and telling people about the rat. The officer argued that it was easy to say but hard to do. The problem was currently getting worse, and the case was slipping out of our grasp, which is why Alan felt worried after hearing the information about Linda. He told him everything and told him that they should all catch the rat together. Then the two of them started making a trap at Linda's house. Julie came at the same time and helped them build the trap. The senior officer had dinner with his wife. The next day when the servant was going to take out the trash, he heard a rat. He didn't pay much attention to it and the trash can overflowed. Some kind of liquid started to fall on his palm as he picked it up. However, when he looked up, he saw the same rat. The waiter was surprised when he saw the rat when the rat attacked him again. The waiter tried to call another kitchen staff member but he was wearing earbuds and couldn't hear him when he turned around. He saw the rat. He was killed by the rat before he could finish anything, so the waiter ran away from the kitchen. The rat appeared and broke his neck in front of everyone after following him. The rat attacked everyone including a senior officer who was there. He ended up preying on many people one by one. The senior officer started shooting at him after picking up his rifle, and his shot accidentally hit an old lady who was walking between them. As a result, the lady died and the officer shot at the rat. However, the bullet had no impact on the rat. The rat attacked the officer and started devouring his stomach, and after a while the senior officer also died. On the other hand, Julie developed a poison to kill the rat in her house. Julie returned to her house after leaving them. Linda started cleaning Alan's bandages when he asked her to do so. We see the officers at Linda's house late at night. They asked Alan to watch the news on television. According to the reporter, a rat sergeant asked Alan if he had any advice on how to get rid of the rat. According to the sergeant, their senior officer was also killed by the rat. The senior officer was Alan's friend. Alan had planned a trap for the rat. Alan showed the officers the device in his vehicle that contained many combat weapons, and Alan stated that he will shoot the rat as he wanted to avenge the death of his friend. Meanwhile, they hear the rat's voice and rush inside the house. Julie returns to help them. Alan gives Julie a baseball bat and tells her to get ready. Alan now steps out on his own to attract the rat's attention. Linda forbids him to be alone outside the house, but he refuses and tells her to come inside. She ordered them to close it and the rat entered the house after attacking them one by one. Everyone was ruled by the loner rat. After grabbing the officer, the rat threw him so that he fainted and the rat now chased Julie. Julie walked towards the upstairs room after avoiding the rat. The rat was prevented from entering the room as she closed the door. Meanwhile, Alan hears screams from inside the room. He tries to enter but is thwarted by the lock. The rat then realizes and follows the female sergeant. The sergeant escapes from the house through the window. Meanwhile, the rat chases and follows her as it runs through the laboratory. The sergeant arrives and starts dropping acid on the rat. Meanwhile, we can see that the acid does not affect her. The sergeant locks herself in her cage and the rat starts tearing it apart. Julie, on the other hand, finds a file in the house. When she reads it, she is surprised. Instead, the sergeant starts holding a knife that has been placed near the cage. Meanwhile, the rat attacks her hand and tears it apart. Linda enters and starts shooting the rats. Immediately, the rats are unaffected by these shots. Linda immediately exits the building after escaping. After getting the files, Julie continues her journey to Alan. She later confesses that Linda was not her husband who was the subject of the experiment. She wanted to treat her mother to help her mother recover from the experiment, but when she used these chemicals on the rats turned into monsters. Linda overhears their conversation and confronts Alan with the truth. Linda states that she only did this because of her mother's treatment. Even though she tried, she couldn't save her. That's why she created the antidote to ensure that this doesn't happen to anyone else the same way it happened to my mother. The antidote has been proven to stop the development of cancer cells in the body. The effects have been reversed as the antidote is still lacking something. Then an officer attacks Linda, knocking her unconscious. Alan, Julie, and the officer were all ordered to leave. He admitted the chemicals as a gas into the room where the rat was. Meanwhile, it was Linda who came to stop the rat, but the rat killed her. After attacking him, the three of them have now gotten out of the house by avoiding the rat. The chemicals made the rat bigger and deadlier. They got scared after seeing it and started to leave. The officer took out his gun and started to kill the rat, which was now following Alan and Julie. The officer was finally eaten by the rat, was now chasing Julie and knocked her down. The rat suddenly started to rise in anguish. When Alan returned to Julie, he told her that the drug had caused the rat's cells to enlarge, as a result of which the rat grew in size, and this also happened, the rat grew bigger, and we watched it explode and die as a result of the increased number of rat blood cells splattered all over their body. However, they acted as if everything was fine and normal, but on the way home they started hearing the noises of a very large rat.